So probably the most, well, yeah, the most realistic, or the most realistic space of any of the images up here. So, you know, kind of like flirting that edge of realism and abstraction. Certainly stylized. What are we thinking about?
I really like the mouse pad.
You really like the what?
Mouse pad.
I do like his mouse
Because
pad.
of his paintings.
The fact that that's just
it
that's
looks
just his
fluffy too. Like a mouse pad.
I'm looking at the mouse also looks really nice.
You know, this is almost, it feels almost like a ode to like a modern day Van Gogh, you know? You know,
yes.
that kind of
Yeah.
the way that things are painted, the perspective, the yellows, the hot
Yeah.
colors, you know? It's like you're doing a tour of all your favorite artists. Yeah. I kind of want more. I mean, this is a quite banal image. You know, it's really just kind of like you fell asleep in front of your computer. Like I could imagine. Wait, is this you? Is this supposed to be you? I can imagine you just doing this, and it's like a everyday sort of. You know, why paint it? It's everyday. It's mundane. You know, there are reasons to paint things that are everyday and mundane. Certainly. What are some of those reasons? Feelings. So yes, very much. The drudgery of the day-to-day illustrated. Maybe that there's to highlight that there's something more magical about the everyday than we first think. Is that really your mouse pad? Did you really have a water? Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. So this is actually a depiction of your room.
Yes. Yeah, it was last week. I was very tired. And, well, I'm always tired, but I was like, what should I paint? And I was like, okay, I feel like I never painted something about me instead of mine, you know, and physically and mentally. And I just put my phone, I took a picture, and I was like really tired. I was like, let me just put my phone over there and I'll capture my, you know, my features of how I look when I'm tired, right? And I just, you know, everything was just placed just like that on the table. And I was gonna actually put something like a cup of coffee or something like that, but I was like, I'm just gonna leave it like that. And
I like that there's not much in it. I think that too many elements in it would have been a little too busy.
Yeah, and then that's what I was wearing. That's my favorite pajamas. You know, I love green, so that's what I kind of.
I think the depiction of this thing is my favorite part. This lamp. Maybe the mouse pad too, but it's almost as if you saw this image and you're like, I want to paint this because I want to paint that. Yeah. Funny story, Robert Bechtel is a photorealist from the 70s. He had a retrospective, Bechtle, if you were looking him up. He had a retrospective in the Fort Modern a few years ago, and I happened to be also teaching a summertime figure drawing class there at the time, so I got to go on the docent tour. When as an artist that's living and has a retrospective, they give all of the docents, all the people who give tours at the Modern or wherever, they give them a lecture and they go around and talk about their work so the docents know what you have something to talk about with visitors. So one of the interesting things is Robert Bechtel used to do, also speaking about banality, the everyday, he would do these, he started off doing these like paintings of cars, and that's what you've probably, if you're looking at them, that's probably what you're seeing is cars, yes. So he got famous for that in the 60s. In the 70s, he started doing like pictures, paintings of his backyard or his grandmother's backyard or front yard or whatever. And he stopped at one, this painting actually, exactly, this very painting, he stopped and talked about this. Oh, I can't, hold on. Google image is so frustrating. Won't you just so look at the image?
Zoom in anymore.
Just like do an article.
Okay, so this painting, you guys all see it? He stopped at this painting and he made a very particular note of saying, I painted this painting because I wanted to paint that chair. And that chair is in the foreground. It's a weird composition. It doesn't look like it's like this is a bad painting in many ways, you know, a bad composition. But he painted it because he wanted to paint that chair. That 70s, like you can almost feel that fabric or smell it, you know what I mean? And that's what that lamp feels like it's doing to me.
I actually have an obsession with lamps.
Do you?
Is that why there's two in your room?
Yeah.
I was wondering why there was two back to
Let me
back.
actually kind of. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lamps.
8 lamps.
So far, because I don't have any space. I'm trying to get something.
In your room
Are you
alone?
secretly
Like in the
involved?
entire apartment.
How
Yeah.
I was entirely.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a lot of lamps too.
Honestly, lamps
I
save a
would
lot more
lamps
electricity.
are so much better than overhead lights.
So I always put like yellow light bulbs because I like the glow.
The warmth.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's why you're all yellow.
Yes.
I think you're a little too yellow, maybe.
Yeah.
I think
No,
it
no,
maybe
no.
needs a little bit of like maybe cools
Yeah.
in the
It's
shadows.
to the point where he's even glowing himself.
Yeah, he's like you're like a light also.
I wanna be like.
He was actually secretly a moth.
So it's kind of hard to talk about this piece, you know, because it's like it's just Victor and his environment. What's it doing then? Well, first of all, there's a tradition of self-portraits and artists over the centuries, right? What else?
I know. I feel like it's pulling us into his space, like
Okay.
how he feels when he leaves class, kind of thing. Like, this is his room. This is what he does when he gets home. So
Yeah.
he's bringing us into that space with his painting.
Okay. Good.
Seems like that maybe you work too much or too hard or something, you know, expression of some kind of.
It's a cry for help right there.
It's actually
Driver
kind of,
help,
those
yeah.
kind of remind me of the purple one you did back in painting one.
Oh, my insomniac piece.
Yeah.
I think you're drawing on a lot of his art historical references here. You know, again, the self-portrait is very common and very popular among, you know, artists until like the most recent times. You know, even now we still do. There's a lot of artists that do self-portraits in different ways, often. But I do appreciate one thing about this is that the whole painting seems to have the same level of attention given to it. You know, that can be, that can be a very hard thing for artists to do. Is like you get your subject, and it's like everything else is like, I don't really care about all this stuff. You know, so you do a good job of completing an entire picture plane, and even the boring stuff seems to have them like a lot of attention given to it. And I think that's quite important. It's a lesson for everybody. You gotta, you know, you gotta do. I'm guilty of it too. And in fact, it's kind of one of the reasons why I started making silhouettes, like in mid-career of my work. I started doing silhouettes because I just was like, I want the subject. That's all I want. Is that, you know?
But is it better like, you know, you said all the, you know, all the details, everything's very much stand out. But sometimes when we look at the what is, you know, main subject, what is, you know, what is meaning that main subject
Right.
convey to the audience.
Right. So you're saying sometimes if there's too much detail, it clouds the real subject.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Now, and what I mean when I say give attention to, I don't necessarily mean that it's as detailed or as fleshed out, but it's given the attention. Like, so for instance, there's a German painter named I believe it's Friedrich. It's not Friedrich. You'll know, you know, those painters that would in this like era of painting where a blade of grass in the back in the front of the picture plane is as detailed as in the back, and it has the effect of flattening the whole thing. It looks weird, you know. That's not right. That's not what I mean. What I mean is give attention to the background, and if the background needs to be pushed back, nobody here is doing what I'm talking about, but if it needs to be pushed back, you know, then you can blur it out, but you're at least giving it the same amount of attention, you know what I mean? And I think here, it's okay because there's a purposeful flattening that seems to be happening. It's a stylization. It seems like a purposeful style thing, it's not meant to be realistic in the realism sense. In fact, it's an abstraction, right? So, and you kind of have to think about it differently with every painting. You know? This pen appears to be floating.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know that
Is
too.
it a style? Is it a stylus?
Yeah, actually, that blue thing is doll. It's a crystal square, the blue one.
That is a crystal?
No, the other one.
The pen is laying on.
The what is
No,
it
no,
called?
the thing, it's like laying
The
on
blue
the
area.
part.
Yeah.
I think
It's-
that
so
the pen
it's-
is gone.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
oh,
not
oh, it's,
laying down, it's
it's
like,
laying on a clear thing.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And it's a little thick, so I just couldn't,
You couldn't
paint the
describe
details of
it.
the.
Well, whatever. I mean, I
And
think if you just described it too much, that would have been too detailed, and it would have stood out in a weird way, like you're talking about. So I'm glad it's eerie looking and seems like it's floating, rather than too detailed.
Yeah. And I was like, I was looking at the picture. I was like, it looks like it's floating, but I'm just gonna do it like that, and I'll put a shadow. But it's actually laying on top of the glass.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get the idea your room is usually pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty neat. My desk doesn't look like that.
I actually have more disaster in the table, but I just picked the most
You just
interesting
did it
one.
out of order.
Selective artist, okay.
Yeah, I was like, let me just paint myself very organized.
Without the drool.
I forgot. I'll
You
do it
forgot?
later.
Aw.
It's hiding behind the
It's
olive.
I mean, I think it's a really stylistically interesting painting. Any comments? I've talked a lot about this, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
I think the door is very interesting.
I do too.
Like the lines on the door. Or even the shading on the handle and all that.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Feels very dramatic.
Yes.
kind of feels like intimate, cause it feels like we walked in on him and he's like sleeping, you know?
That's funny.
So it's like, are we supposed to wake him up, or are we supposed to leave him?
Like,
Bring him a
point.
blanket and
We
drape
appear
it
to be
over him in case he
voyeurs.
gets cold.
The viewer is a voyeur. We're looking into a space that's intimate, private. Maybe we feel a little weird looking at this, right? Walk in with somebody sleeping, you don't usually like stand there.
I was talking about this with him when he was doing it. I like that you can tell that it's late at night.
Okay. I agree. Okay, thank you very much.